Hi, I'm Fiona. Welcome to Case Nest Movement Therapy. In this video, I'd like to talk a little bit more about pandiculation, what it is, why it matters, why we use it, and also how to actually feel it in your body. I touched briefly on the fact that we use pandiculation in gentle somatic yoga in my introductory video, but this is a little bit more detail and then also a practical example of how you can start to connect with those movements and those feelings in your body. An example of pandiculation would be when you yawn and stretch in the morning, or when a cat gets up after it's been asleep. They arch their back and then they release. And pandiculation is one of the things that makes somatics and gentle somatic yoga unique and different from traditional yoga. You don't just stretch or come into postures. What you're doing is you are actually repatterning the brain to soft tissue connection. And how we do this is a pandiculation has three distinct parts. You have a contraction of the muscle or muscle group that you're trying to work with, and then a slow mindful release, and then a complete relaxation of the body. The reason for this is you are reconnecting the brain to soft tissue when you contract. You are controlling how you release it and start to lengthen it. But then by completely relaxing, you are teaching the brain at the end of that movement to let go of all effort. In our adaptability and our evolution, one of the problems that we have, although it's there for a good reason, is that we are incredibly adaptable. Our body starts to change depending on demands made upon it. So if you do a repetitive movement all the time, the fascia, the soft tissue, will start to respond to that. It will become thicker and stronger and tighter, and it will be held in tension, ready for when you need it. The issue there is we lose the elasticity, the mobility, and the fluidity of that tissue that it needs to stay in optimum health. So by introducing that total relaxation at the end of the movement, you're reminding the brain and the nervous system not to hold things in readiness for your next movement, but to completely let go and rest when you don't need those muscles to be working. So it sounds complicated, but in reality, it's quite easy to do. But I found myself, when I started doing gentle somatic yoga, it takes a while to find that relaxation, especially if you tend to hold a lot of tension in your body. So what I would like to do is work through a hand exercise with you that you can use that will start to introduce you to that sensation when you know you've reached that relaxation point, where you can keep those three distinct parts: contraction, controlled release, complete relaxation. So take a moment to find yourself a comfortable place where you can relax your arm. You might want to sit at a dining table with your arm resting on the table. You might want to sit in a comfortable chair with a cushion under your arm and your arm just relaxed on the cushion. Wherever you feel that you're not holding tension and that your upper body is also relaxed. And before we start to pandiculate, we're just going to scan. And all scanning is connecting with your own feelings, your own physical feelings of your body in that moment before you start to move, before you start to pandiculate or we start to do a somatic flow, so that you have a before and after comparison of sensations, and that helps the nervous system process what's happened and helps that process of repatterning from the brain to soft tissue. So just take your attention through your fingers in turn and your thumb, the palm of your hand, the back of your hand, noticing any sensations that you feel. If you're not used to scanning, you might not feel very much at all, and that's fine. It's something that you become practiced at the more you do it. As humans and in modern society, very often we are encouraged to switch off from our feelings, encouraged to switch off from what our body's telling us. And this is an opportunity to reconnect with that and learn to notice what feels good and what doesn't feel good. Then bringing your attention up through the forearm, all the way to the elbow. Okay. So to pandiculate, all we're going to do is gently squeeze the fingers and thumb into a fist, which will be stimulating the flexors of the hand and the muscles of the forearm. So squeezing slowly into a fist, be mindful of all those movements, all the effort it takes to create that fist, but without strain. Never any pain or strain. And then again, Slowly and smoothly as you can, allow the hand to open, release that contraction. When you think you're back in neutral, let your arm and your fingers and your hand completely relax. You might notice when you hit that relaxation that the position becomes different from just when you released the effort. And that's great because it means everything is resetting to a different length. Not holding contraction ready for the next movement, allowing the muscles to lengthen to their more optimum position, which takes pressure off the joints and the nerves underneath and helps the fascia flow and work as it should. So again, gentle squeeze, no strain, but just feel every movement you're making. Feel the muscles that have to work to create that position. Create the fist, feeling sensation here in the fist, but also feeling sensation up in the forearm as well. And then release. And then completely relax. One more time. Gentle squeeze. Find that connection with your muscle effort. And then release. And then let your body relax. And just take a moment to scan again. What do you feel in your fingers, your thumb, the palm of your hand, the back of your hand, and all the way between your wrist and your elbow? Sometimes you can have a fizzing sensation, a warmth. As we start to work with the fascia, encouraging it to contract and release, that pumping action in itself will help pump fluid through the body's tissues. And that is a benefit by bringing oxygen and nutrients to the cells. But that working with the nervous system can really change the feedback to your brain, making you far more connected and aware of what's happening within your body, within the joints, within the tissues, and anywhere that you choose to work. So that's just a very brief example of how you can pandiculate muscle groups. I chose the hand because it's something you can feel, but it's also something you can see. Obviously, once you start to work with other muscle groups in the body, especially those in the back line or in the deep tissues, we can't see them. You can only rely on what you feel and what feedback you have. And if you have tension or pain in an area, your feedback is already compromised. So sometimes it can be challenging to feel whether you have actually reached that relaxation point after release. But if you practice with something like your hands, where you can see what's happening, you can feel what's happening, there's lots of feedback available to you, and you start to get a sense of what relaxation truly means. Very often we think we've relaxed when actually what we've done is released, but we haven't truly let go. And that's a hugely important thing, both physically and emotionally, to allow our body to function freely. I hope you found that useful. And once you have a sensation of how pandiculation works, then please feel free to move on to the other videos and start to find that real true release through the rest of your body.